No one could accuse you of not sticking to your guns. I think your ninth debutant. Do you know where that leaves you in the AFL this season? It's got to have you right up there in terms of first-year players.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, look, that's a healthy number. There's no doubt about that. So again, we think that'll stand us in good stead moving forward. It's a tough competition and you need depth. So in a testing year, from an injury point of view, the upside is the exposure that gives to a lot of players, and Cam Shenton's an example of that. Really good form over 6 or 7 weeks, trained really hard pre-season to elevate himself and gets his opportunity, which is terrific. What
can you tell us about him, and where will you use him, and what will we see from this bloke?
He can play at both ends of the ground. He was actually recruited as quite a lively half forward, leads well at the ball, has good pace, and can do some special things at times, but he's equally at home as a rebounding half back. It's probably where he's played most of his footy over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Certainly will take the game on, has good pace, and he's pretty offensively aggressive, so he's in good form.
What have you made of the Gold Coast and their form recently?
Look, they're a talented side. I don't think anyone's ever debated that fact. You look at the way that their list was put together. There's some absolute top-end talent. So, your Ablett and Bennells, and, we see O'Meara coming through, he's just a superstar. So, extremely talented side.
Who goes to Gary?
I think most sides, probably 2 or 3. He's such a great player. But, look, we might throw the role to a young Tom Curran, who's, in the last 4 or 5 weeks has had some pretty big roles. So, he's played on Mitchell, he's played on Hanbury. He's learning a hell of a lot about the game, so there's that sort of learning opportunity that could be a possibility there as well.
And from all accounts, he's been doing bloody well too. He's had a pretty good month or so.
Yeah, well, look, Hanbury's an example. I mean, last week, you'd probably say he's one of the Brownlow favourites without doubt. So to get it 20 times himself and keep a quality player like Hanbury to 15 or 16. That's a pretty good effort, but it'll certainly be a challenge against someone like a Gary.
Do you look at the last 3 or 4? You always analyse your opposition, but you'd be looking pretty hard at the last 3 or 4 weeks because his numbers are down, Ablett. But then again, you'd be thinking, well, how long before he, cuts loose again?
Yeah, you can jump at all those shadows. We expect him, like all of them, to play their best footy.
Yeah.
So you prepare for his absolute best. You can't predict form one way or the other. You just prepare for a team's best or an individual's best.
How much do you look at the last 3 or 4 weeks of what sides have really worked hard on him the last few weeks, and there's been some wins there, some big wins.
You've got to put good players under pressure, and he's no different. I mean, I see a Nick Riewoldt, on a weekly basis, get blocked off the ball, put under pressure. So they've just got to play. They're all ball players. They need to play the game, as fairly and as purely as they always do. And more often than not, they get protected by the umpires.
Must be good to have Lenny back in the side this week as well.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for Lenny. Obviously, coming off almost unprecedented open heart surgery, there aren't too many players that have had to sort of put together a season after that. So he's had some injury issues, obviously, with his calf along the way this year. A lot of that are put down to not having the pre-season that he would normally have. But to have him back in the side, fit and raring to go this week is a real bonus for us.
There's plenty of talk that he might consider going around again. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think he will consider. He's certainly.
Do you want him to go around again then?
Yeah, and look, I've gone on the record as saying I think he's got a lot to offer. Still, purely from a playing point of view, certainly from a leadership and mentoring point of view. So, we have ongoing discussions. We've sort of casually spoken about it, 7, 8, 9 times this year. We'll get to a landing point pretty soon, and there'll probably be an announcement next week.
I suppose one of the fan favourites is Cozzy. Well, where's he at with that calf injury? And he's running out of weeks now to get to 200, isn't he?
Yeah, look, it was always going to be tight. Once he sort of tore his calf, so he's got more volume into his training this week. Again, we're very hopeful as a club to try and get him across the line, but ultimately, physically, he has to be able to deliver. So, fingers crossed with his rehab.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been asked about this, but he made a comment a little while ago that he just wasn't enjoying his footy. It's a hard gig, isn't it? And especially for someone like him.
I think the comment was based on over his whole career. He's had times when probably fallen out of love with the game a little bit. A lot of players face those challenges. I mean, it's a brutal, high-pressured, tough industry. It's not just about running around and getting a kick like you were doing when you were in under 12s. There's pressure of performance that comes with that. There's the outside pressure of the artificial celebrity that players have. So they have to learn to cope with those pressures. That's why our welfare and wellness programs with our young kids are absolutely critical. You need to prepare them to be able to handle those pressures. So I think it's great that he actually came out and spoke about it. And indeed, we're going to have him talk to a lot of our younger players at the end of the year about the pressures that you can expect to face as a long-term player.
Getting back to Lenny, there's two sides of the coin that you talk about, just the challenges and everything he's been through this year. It could wear you down, but it also could make you think, well, if I can get over that and just have a solid run in the next season, I might have a great year, because he's had so much time off and he's had to rehab so much, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think there's probably some questions in his own mind that his preparation has made it a more difficult year for him. Look, whichever way he chooses to go, and he has my full support to play on. But if he chooses not to, that he doesn't have the drive or the passion, I think ultimately that has to be his decision. I'm not going to force him to play, because that doesn't work. The door's open, and he'll come to that point over the next few days, I would think.
And carbs are an old man's disease too. That's often a sign that your body's saying no more.
Are you talking from experience?
I had rich experience, and I reckon you would be too, Scott.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, they are, but they're also a result quite often of having a limited pre-season as well. So with good preparation, there's still more footy left in Lenny, in my opinion.
It's fan appreciation round for you blokes. Your fans have stuck tight and they've had not much joy this year. It would be really good to get one on the board tomorrow, wouldn't it? Just for the I guess the sake of the whole club.
Yeah. Look, it would. We've got an incredible supporter base. So look, to get a win would be a great affirmation for them. What I can say to them is, again, they're going to see a number of young kids playing this week. So it's been a tougher year, but a lot of the players that have been introduced are going to be players that they watch for the next 10 years. So we know where we're at as a list and as a club right at the minute, but this club will progress on the back of a lot of the exposure that those kids have got. So they should still be excited about looking at those kids coming through like we are.
And no doubt also there'd be one or two players, favourites of theirs, that they'll probably be seeing for the last time over the next couple of weeks too. Get along.
Yeah, quite possibly. We've got some great legends of the club that the window eventually closes for everyone, and we'll have some announcements early next week. But we want those players that are leaving the club who've given great service to go out with a lot of respect and a lot of dignity, and they'll always be fantastic Saints players for us.
To ask, obviously, about Ahmed's side, how is he holding up and how's he dealing with obviously this process just beginning?
Yeah, look, I'm not really prepared to enter into any commentary on Ahmed. I appreciate the question, but it's been pretty well documented. He's going okay.
That'll do.
Thank you.
Deliberately left that one till last.